Good afternoon. This is Drew Wright. I'm the territory manager in Northeast Illinois. Since Mother Nature isn't cooperating very well the last week and today, I figured I'd go through some agronomy updates or information of what's been going on or what I predict will be issues in the next couple weeks. First thing I wanted to look at was planting dates. I have a couple charts up here. The one on the left is corn and the one on the right is soybeans. The one on the left is planting days after March 25th in percentage of maximum yield, and then the one on the right is planting days after April 1st of soybeans and percentage of maximum yield. As you can see on the corn, and this is for the whole state of Illinois, so in Northeast Illinois here, ours is probably skewed a little to the right. But as you can see on the corn here, when you start getting in this region, so that's about shy of 40 days, that's when you start seeing the yield potential start to go down, gradually start to reduce. And so right now we're at about 35 days after March 25th. So now we are kind of in that time frame where we'll start seeing our yield potential start going down. But there's not a large effect until we get to about the 50 or 55 day mark, which will be in another couple weeks. Then we'll have to really evaluate where our yield conditions are. But even if you look at soybeans, you start seeing a drop off on soybeans at about 20 to 25 days after April 1st. So we're actually after that point now on soybeans when you start seeing a slow reduction. It's just in the past we haven't planted as early, so we haven't seen that. And you can see where you start seeing a real drop when you get to about 45 to 50 days. So that'd put us about mid-May, and that's pretty typical to what we think when we start losing a little bit of our yield. Our yield potential is mid-May and on. And this being said, there's a lot of studies that the grain marketing guys use to look at planting date and see if there's a correlation to yield to try to predict what's going to happen and what the yield's going to be in the fall. And there's just no strong correlation year over year to planting date and what that yield would be. So right now I would say not to be too worried about the planting date. There's a lot of other yield limiting factors within the season. The next thing I wanted to look at was our soil temperatures in the last 7 days. Ever since about 2012, 2013, there's been a lot of talk about the temperature of water being imbibed into the seed, or the temperature of water that the seed takes in within the first 24 hours. So what I wanted to look at here was the soil temperature in Stell, Illinois over the last 7 days. And Stell, Illinois would be about the center of my territory. Well, north and south would be the center of my territory, but it's a little west of my territory. And you can see that we get to a point where we got almost down to 42 degrees at the 2-inch mark for soil temp. And from what I can see in most studies, if you get to about 41 or 42 degrees and below, that's when you start really seeing damage to emergence and to the corn crop. So we just barely touched that. A lot of people think and look in terms of the air temperature and what the temperature is outside when it rains, but the corn kernel doesn't know that. It just knows what that soil and what that water temperature is right around it that it'll be absorbing in. And when we do see damage from that imbibed chilling, this is usually what we see. You start to see the stubby calyptile, and some of these leaves will start to emerge a little bit below the soil line, and that's just some of the issues that we see with this imbibed chilling or cold damage. The next issue, which is definitely not a new issue, but just something we need to revisit when we get into a season like this, Where guys are probably going to start pushing the envelope on planting, we need to talk about hatchet roots or sidewall compaction. And in the recent years, we've had a lot of advancements in planting technology that has really helped with this, because it helps with the information we have about down pressure and how much down pressure we should have on. But it doesn't matter how much down pressure if you're putting the seed in marginal conditions. On this corn plant on the left, you can see here, you can definitely see the sidewall compaction in there. It's pretty evident. And then the one on the right, you can see where the roots are going this way on the left side of the plant, but over here it might not be as evident, but those roots are definitely going down. And this isn't just an issue for young seedlings and the first part of the vegetative state of a corn plant. This will carry through its whole life. I mean, these plants, they just don't get a good root system on them, so they don't have good structure. They don't have good absorption of water, of nutrients, and these plants will just struggle their whole lives. And this is kind of what this next picture shows. Is this was an irrigated farm, so you still have pretty good stalk and plant health. But yet, if you look at these roots here, there's definitely was some sidewall compaction, and you're definitely not going to get as much nutrient or moisture absorption in there. Luckily, this was irrigated, and they were probably able to spoon feed the moisture and the nutrients. But if this was a typical field, that plant would really be struggling. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me, and I hope Mother Nature will straighten out here and everybody will be able to get back in the field. Have a good afternoon.